Hello, I'm Dr Jodi Richardson, and you're listening to Well, Hello Anxiety, a podcast where we end the struggle with anxiety and build our toolkit of practical skills to thrive. Well, hello there, and welcome back to episode 18 of the podcast. Hard to believe we're nearly at the end of January in 2022. I'm coming to you live from my home. Well, it's live now. It won't be by the time you hear this, but I'm in my dining room, which is also kind of doubling as my laundry and my podcast studio. When I first had the idea of creating a podcast, I looked around for studios. I thought I'd have to hire a space or set up a professional space here in my home in some sort of dark cupboard somewhere or some quiet corner, which we don't really have. And so I decided to podcast from a place that is quiet, allows me to set up everything comfortably. And it's just another lesson that we don't have to have everything perfect to do what's important. And there are some really great software, some great equipment that help me to get really good sound quality. And of course, I have my wonderful podcast producer who does wonders with the audio quality as well. So if there's something that you've got on your heart to do and you're thinking of all the ways that you might need to get set up and get organized, just get started with what you've got, with where you're at, and take it from there, because sometimes the extra things we try to do can be veiled as organization, but can really often be procrastination. Anyway, so here I am in my dining room / laundry / podcast studio. I'm home alone. And I've had a pretty awesome week, actually. It's been a busy week, but full of really lovely experiences. Peter and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary on Thursday, the 27th of Jan. So it was really beautiful. We went out for lunch and had a really beautiful lunch together, and then took a bit of a break while he went to cricket training. And then we took the kids out for ice cream for dinner and a bit of a walk along one of the local piers outside at night, which was just lovely. I took our daughter to see Frozen, the musical, at Her Majesty's Theatre during the week, and that was just extraordinary. I was so moved by the performances and the singing and the dancing, and that was an experience of really making amazing memories. And one of the other significant things that's happened this week is I nearly did a hammy running away from our rooster, Buffy. For those of you that have heard me talk about this before, we have a bit of a love-hate relationship. The rooster was an accidental rooster. But the great news is that Sandy, one of our other chickens, is sitting on 3 eggs, which are actually growing into little chicks. So we're really excited about actually having some little baby chicks here and having some little chickens that we can rear from the start and hopefully have a good relationship with, even if one of them turns out to be a rooster. Hopefully not. So that's me. That's where I've been at. I presented to a school yesterday, which was really awesome. It was so good to be back online, but nonetheless, I really love my work. And so it was really lovely to be able to do some work with a school yesterday. So what are we doing today? Well, today I'm sharing a skill with you that I have really relied on for over 10 years now to really help me in times of distress and panic and overwhelm and difficulty emotionally and psychologically. And this is a skill that I'm sharing with you, particularly now, because we're all facing more unpredictability and uncertainty and really amping up as the school year goes back. So before we get started, I wanted to ask you to check in on how you're doing. How are you feeling? Have you actually stopped to reflect and think about where you're at, where your nervous system is at? Are you feeling edgy and racy and a bit anxious? Or are you feeling calm and content? Or have you been feeling a bit flat or a bit low or a little bit disengaged and a little bit unmotivated? However you're feeling, it's really nice to be able to recognize and reflect on where you're at, name it, and acknowledge that all feelings are okay. Naming it helps to settle your nervous system. And today's strategy will really help you if you have been struggling. And a lot of people have been struggling. We are heading into our third year of a pandemic, and it's very, very hard on our brains and our bodies. One of my beautiful listeners who has asked to remain nameless, and I completely respect that, has asked in particular for this episode to be recorded. And I invite you, if you've got something in particular you'd like for me to share or teach or talk about, then please write to me. And I'd really love to be able to support you. So, one of your fellow listeners has done that. And today's episode is really dedicated to her. And I think she'll know who she is. So, one of the things that a lot of people are experiencing at the moment is a lot of overwhelm. It's easy to become overwhelmed. Here in Australia, we have school going back. And so by the time you're listening to this, you may have kids just about to go back to school if they're heading to school maybe on a Thursday in the first week back of term one. By the time this goes to air, I will have both kids back at school, which I am really thrilled about. They're ready, I'm ready, and I've got lots and lots of amazing work to do this year. So the time during the day will be really appreciated. That said, I think I've really appreciated the freedoms that we've had these school holidays and the time together more than I have in years gone past. So it's been fantastic, but I think we're ready. But with school going back comes more routine, comes lunches, and I've already just done a permission slip for something I've got to pay for, some sort of school excursion. There's a lot of activities that'll get started back up, and sometimes that can feel a little bit overwhelming, getting organised and having everyone in the right place at the right time. Perhaps it's for you, you've had a lovely break and work is amping up for you. Or maybe you're a teacher and you're the one welcoming the kids back to school, big and small. And it's hard. The back to work blues are real. And so no matter where you're at, if you've been experiencing overwhelm or if you do, today's strategy that I'm sharing with you is a really powerful way to settle your system when you're feeling edgy or amped up, flat and unmotivated, panicky or anxious. Perhaps if you've experienced some challenges in your life, you may experience flashbacks to those challenging times, or maybe you're feeling distressed. Even if right now, listening to this, when you reflect on how you're at, you're okay, that's amazing. But we know that it's really natural and normal to experience the whole range of human emotions. So today's strategy is called dropping anchor, and it's it's a strategy to put into practice when you're really in the midst of an emotional storm. So you get where this metaphor is going. Because when we're in an emotional storm, it's really painful, it's really distressing. And this dropping anchor strategy comes from the work of Dr. Russ Harris. And he has created an ebook that I will share a link to in the show notes. And this dropping anchor strategy is freely available. He also has free audio downloads on his website. I'll share links to those as well. And I thank Russ for this work and for sharing this and making this publicly available. In fact, this particular strategy that I'm sharing with you is one that, or the ebook, that I'm sharing with you is an ebook that Russ wrote that was shared widely by the World Health Organization, particularly in the midst of COVID stress. If you listen carefully, you may just get to hear Buffy, the rooster, who may even come to the window and have a little peck on the window if he sees me. He doesn't like me. Anyway, that's okay. So I used dropping anchor. Oh, goodness. When we first had children, when we had our first little one, and I was experiencing postnatal depression, I was easily overwhelmed and easily distressed by all sorts of things, particularly when, he did the things that normal babies do. He cried and needed a lot of time and attention, of course, and I loved and still do love being a mum, but it was really hard. And I think because I was struggling so much with anxiety and postnatal depression that was at the time undiagnosed, I didn't have the right supports in place. I probably could have done with a little bit of extra support in having people around, especially after that sort of 6 to 8 weeks of age, when a lot of the extra help and support can start to dwindle. And it wasn't until I really was able to identify where I was at with my mental health and really seek that extra support coming back into the house that really made a difference, plus professional help, of course, as well. I used dropping anchor all the time. I reflect on having working to help him get into a really good sleep routine, and then taking that time to settle him into his cot, and then coming back out into the hallway, shutting the door, and then listening with anxiety, just filled with anxiety, listening. Is he going to start crying? Is he going to need me? How long do I leave him to resettle himself? I wasn't comfortable with leaving him cry for any length of time. That was just our family choice about our sleep and settling strategy. And yeah, I remember just dropping anchor and just really using this, and the difference that it made and it makes to this day. And you will have heard an episode a couple of weeks ago where I was just quite anxious, just recording the podcast, and I was having an anxious day. I was getting lots of interruptions, and I was really dropping anchor and really bringing myself back into the present to settle my system, engage in the present moment so that I could really share important and valuable insights and strategies here with you. So, one thing to know about dropping anchor is that by dropping anchor, we are not trying to get rid of anxiety. The aim of using this exercise is to become more present, to acknowledge where we're at with our thoughts and our feelings, and to allow them to come and go. So this part of this goes to the idea of willingness, which Dr. John Forsyth talked about so beautifully in last week's episode, episode 17. The willingness to experience what comes up for us, not to struggle with it. Dropping anchor is a strategy that really will help with that. So, where do we start? Well, I want to start by sharing a beautiful quote with you by Timber Hawkeye, which is to paraphrase this beautiful quote, that we can't change what's happening around us. We can't stop the storm around us. So we need to stop trying. But what we can do is we can calm ourselves knowing that the storm will pass. And we know this to be true of all feelings and experiences, that they do pass, but it can be terribly hard, terribly overwhelming, painful and distressing in the moment. So if you feel as though that's building for you, the dropping anchor has a beautiful acronym that you can put into place, easy to remember, and it will take you through this process. So the acronym for dropping anchor is ACE, ACE. A is for acknowledging your thoughts and feelings. C is coming back into your body. And E is engage in what you're doing. ACE. So you'll notice with A, and I'm going to talk you through this process in just a moment. You'll notice with A that it's about acknowledging where we're at, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what's showing up for us right now. I really want to reiterate that this is not a distraction technique. This is not about distracting ourselves and avoiding what we're thinking and feeling. This is a beautiful, powerful strategy that invites us to be present and to allow what we're experiencing to come and go. With the ACE, what you may find is that you go through each part of the strategy, acknowledging your thoughts and feelings, coming back into your body, and then engaging in what you're doing. And you may do that just once and re-engage, or you may like to repeat this process a number of times to lengthen out this very powerful strategy and really give yourself more time to ground yourself in the present moment. So you can go through ACE once, or you can repeat a number of times, a handful of times, depending on where you're at and what it is that you need in the moment. So without any further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to actually share this with you, and this might be also something that you like to come back to use as a practice, as an audio practice for your own practice of dropping anchor. And I really invite, this is my go to reset strategy, and I really invite you to practice this and to consider it as your new go to reset strategy as well. We all need one. We all need a way of calming ourselves in the middle of the storms that come up for us all the time. And so perhaps you might like to really earmark this episode as something to come back to. So if you enjoy the way I talk you through this strategy, it's something that you can repeat and practice. So, okay, so dropping anchor. Let's start by acknowledging thoughts and feelings. So, silently and kindly acknowledge whatever is showing up inside you: thoughts, feelings, emotions, perhaps it's memories, maybe sensations that you're feeling in your body. Maybe your breathing's changed, you're feeling hot, you might be getting a little bit edgy, you might be feeling a little bit racy, your heart might be beating faster than normal. Perhaps you're having urges that might be taking you away from what's important, perhaps strategies that might help you to avoid how you're feeling or what you're thinking. I'm going to invite you to take the stance of a curious scientist. So observe what's happening in your inner world. And as you do this, it's often helpful to put it into words and just silently say to yourself, I'm noticing anxiety, or I'm feeling sadness, or there's my mind worrying, or I'm really feeling overwhelmed right now. I'm having thoughts about something that's going to happen that's going to be really worrying and upsetting and challenging. And so while you're noticing and observing what your inner experience is, I want you to really acknowledge that you're having these thoughts and feelings, that it's human to do so, making room for them, knowing that they will come and go. What I'd like you to do next is to come back into your body. So I'm inviting you now to come out of your head and into your body. And there are a number of ways that you can do this. You could start by slowly pushing your feet firmly into the floor and paying attention to the contact between your feet and the surface beneath and what that feels like, bringing your attention back into that feeling in your feet as you push your feet into the floor, picturing yourself dropping your anchor, grounding yourself in the midst of an emotional storm. If you're standing or sitting, you could sit up tall, straighten your back and your spine, sit up with beautiful posture and relax your arms by your side, or slowly press your fingertips together, bringing your attention into your body, noticing the feeling of contact between your hands, between your fingertips, between your feet and the floor, perhaps between your bottom and the chair. You might like to stretch overhead, just feel your muscles lengthening, feel the tension reduce as you may shrug up your shoulders and then relax them back down away from your ears. Breathing slowly, focusing on your breath if you like. Again, we're coming out of our head and into our body. You may like to look around you and notice a handful of things that you could see. Perhaps you might look for a particular colour. You might like to turn your attention to what you can hear, noticing what's happening and how you feel physically. We're not trying to avoid or escape what's happening inside us in terms of our thoughts and our feelings. What we're doing is we're coming back into the present moment. So the aim with this exercise is to remain aware of your thoughts and feelings, continue to acknowledge that they are present, and at the same time, connect with your body, moving it, keeping your attention on what you can feel and notice. What you're doing in moving your body and still engaging in what you can actually do, how you can move, is that you are gaining control over your actions. And even though we can't control what we think or feel, of course we can't. And when we try to, we just end up in a fight that makes things even more challenging. We can take action with our body by doing movements, making movements, taking action, even when we're experiencing challenging thoughts and feelings. So, as you acknowledge your thoughts and feelings and you come back into your body, the next part of this exercise is about engaging in what you're doing. So, what were you doing before you became overwhelmed? What were you doing before the painful and distressing thoughts or feelings or flashbacks or urges or memories or sensations took your mind away from what you were up to? So, what I'd like to invite you to do now is to get a sense of where you are and refocus your attention on the activity that you were doing before you got sort of swept away. You can find your own way of doing this. You could try to re engage back in the moment by, again, looking around, noticing some of the sounds that are around you, and ending the exercise by bringing your attention back to the task at hand. So perhaps before you were swept away by thoughts and feelings, you were feeling overwhelmed. Oh, goodness, it's so easy to become overwhelmed in your workplace. Perhaps you are a teacher working in a classroom with a range of children who all have different needs, and you need to attend to a whole range of different needs. Sometimes at once, it feels like that can be overwhelming. Perhaps you're a parent with competing demands and needs of the children that are in your family, or you're in a workplace and you're feeling overwhelmed by the to-dos on your list and all of the things that you need to do. No matter what it is that you're doing or where you're at, this is an exercise that can help you re-engage back in what's important in the moment with presence by just taking a little bit of time out. And it's a strategy that you can do that nobody else will really know you're engaging in if you don't want them to. If you run through this cycle 3 to 4 times, it will really extend the exercise, as I mentioned at the beginning, and help you really re engage in the present moment and do the things that are important. Because when we get swept away by thoughts and feelings, what can happen is we end up doing things other than what we need to. We can avoid, and avoidance is just such a large part of anxiety. Something doesn't feel easy, or it doesn't feel seamless or fluid or natural, then anxiety can start to bubble up and we'll procrastinate. We might do a whole range of other things before doing the thing that we need to. And so dropping anchor is a way to re-engage in what's important in that moment, to really settle yourself. So just to recap, dropping anchor is a brilliant strategy for overwhelm. The acronym is ACE. A, acknowledge your thoughts and feelings. C, come back into your body. And E, engage in what you're doing, bringing your attention back into the present and doing what we call a towards move. So a move that takes you in the direction of what your values are, what your goals are, and what is going to help you to behave or act as the type of person that you want to be, and doing what's meaningful and brings you a sense of purpose. So that is dropping anchor. I wonder what you think about this. This is a strategy that has been such a savior for me, and I invite you to bring it into your daily practice. Perhaps you might like to anchor this particular grounding strategy to a behavior that you're already doing. Because what I really dearly want from this podcast is not only for you to learn and develop more understanding about anxiety and about mental health and well-being, I want your behavior to change. And one of the greatest ways to change our behavior is to anchor what we're doing to something that is already part of our daily routine. So one of the things that BJ Fogg writes about in his book, Tiny Habits, and he's the guru of this, he talks about anchoring a new habit to something you're already doing that's already well and truly part of your routine. So he loves to do 2 push-ups every time he goes to the loo. You might like to start bringing this grounding strategy into your day by doing 1 cycle of the dropping anchor strategy immediately after you clean your teeth in the morning or the evening. It might be something that you'd like to do while you're waiting for your milk to froth if you're making a coffee, or while you're standing in line at the supermarket. Something that you do regularly and habitually. If you can use that as an anchor for this new behavior, then I'm going to give you a new acronym, ABC. And that is A, anchor; B, new behavior; C, celebrate. So if you're waiting for the kettle to boil, or you're waiting for your milk to froth, or you're waiting for your spuds to cook in the oven, or you're doing something like cleaning your teeth, and then you've got that as an anchor, you can add that new behavior and that new habit in on top of it. And they become paired, they become linked. And this is how you can bring a new behavior into your daily routine. And then a little celebration. So if perhaps you wanted to do some squats, or my mum, my awesome mum, if she's heating something in the microwave, she will stand on one leg and practice her balance. And I love that, because it's linking one activity to another. And this is how we build a new behavior into our daily routine. So I'd love your feedback. I'd love to know if you can start to bring this into your daily life. And remember that acronym: acknowledging thoughts and feelings, come back into your body, and then engage in the here and now through your senses and back into what's important. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much. Goodness me, the feedback that I am getting is just so overwhelming. We're well and truly past 10,000 downloads for the podcast. We hit that a few weeks ago. I didn't share that with you. I hadn't recorded any new podcasts. I did a few podcasts while I was preparing to go away on a break, as you know. So thank you to you for listening, and thank you for sharing. Really, one of the most wonderful things that you can do is to share this podcast with friends and family. And word of mouth is really so trusted. And I know that a lot of people are coming to the podcast having been recommended by friends and family who are listening. So thank you so much. Thank you for your beautiful reviews. Thank you for your emails. I'm going to continue to bring you some amazing interviews across 2022. I can't wait to share some of the incredible guests that I've got coming up for you, and to keep helping build your toolkit and support you to live a really rich and full life, even if anxiety has to come along for the ride. Even when I feel anxious, I do it anyway. I really hope that can be your new mantra as well. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday, fantastic rest of the week, whenever you're listening, wherever you are. And I cannot wait to be back with you again next week. All right, take care. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. To keep the conversation going, I'd love you to join me over on Instagram. You'll find me at Dr Jodi Richardson. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 5-day mini email course, Calm Your Anxious Brain, then jump over to my website, drjodirichardson.com, and you can sign up down the bottom. I've really enjoyed having your company. Thanks so much. See you next time.